Howdy. My name is Luke Altendorf. I'm the director of the Memorial Student Center, and like you, a friend of Rusty Thompson's. We're here this evening to celebrate the life of Rusty. Would you please check your cell phones and silence them at this time? Also, would you please stand for the Thompson family to enter the auditorium? This evening's program will be in a celebratory tone. The program will give our students, peers, administrators, former students, and friends a chance to speak about Rusty and the impact he had on all of us. Though his loss will take some time for us to heal, know that it's okay to cry, feel the pain of the sorrow of losing a loved one. But this evening and into the future, I encourage you to focus on the many wonderful things Rusty did to make us feel good. Focus on his jokes, his hugs, his positive attitudes, but most of all, his smile. We're a better campus community because we knew Rusty Thompson. Even if you didn't know Rusty and are here this evening, you will get a glimpse of who Rusty was. Tina, Blaine, Brenna, our heartfelt condolences go out to you and your extended family. Know that there are a lot of hugs in this room. If you need one, just let us know. I wish we could do a great big group hug right now, but that could be a little bit challenging. At the end of the program this evening, we will ask you to take a photo of the QR code that will be on the screen. And what it'll guide you to a website requesting that you give one word that describes Rusty. Even if you don't know him, by listening to all of the remarks this evening, you'll learn a lot about him. I will talk a little bit more in the program about that. At this time, David Kipp will now lead the singing cadets to perform The 12th Man and Amazing Grace. Please stand.
Texas Aggies down in Aggie land, we've got Aggie spirit to a man. Stand united, that's the Aggie theme. We're the 12th man on the team. When we're down, the going's rough and tough. We just grin and yell, we've got the stuff to fight together for the Aggie dream. We're the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team. Texas Aggies down in Aggie land. We've got Aggie spirit to a man. Stand united, that's the Aggie theme. We're the 12th man on the team. When we're down, the going's rough and tough. We just grin and yell, we've got the stuff to fight together for the Aggie dream. We're the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. flesh like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, so vast and yet so free. The Son of God, the righteous one, is crucified for me. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my feet, How precious is that grace of me, how I first believed. Amazing grace, so vast and yet so free. The Son of God, the righteous one, is crucified for Many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Lead me home. Lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, so vast and yet so free. The Son of God, the righteous one. Is crucified. And grace will lead me home.
Thank you, David and gentlemen, and Holly. Rusty's priorities were faith, family, and the fighting Texas Aggies. I would also add an unofficial one of fun. As many of you, as you will see throughout this evening, being around Rusty was just fun. At this time, Mari Quiros, class of 2015, who had the privilege of working with Rusty for many years on the muster committee and was able to observe much of Rusty's fun, will now lead us in an invocation. Please stand.
Good evening, everyone. As many people in this room could tell you, Rusty's faith was everything to him. His spirituality guided him in everything he did, in how he loved his family, in how he loved others, and in how he loved this university. With that, I ask that you please join me in prayer or in silence, however most fitting to your faith. Almighty God, we gather here tonight and ask that you would move in us and around us. Our hearts are heavy, and we cry out to you in lament for the loss of our friend Rusty, a man that walked hand in hand with you all the days of his life and committed his every action to your glory and for the good of others. Though we struggle to understand why Rusty's time amongst us had to end, help us tonight and every day henceforward to celebrate his incredible life. When we feel anger, wash us in grace. When we encounter frustration, show us the way to peace. When we feel lost or doubtful, give us clarity and hope. And when we undoubtedly yearn for Rusty's presence, clothe us in gratitude for his 53 years and reveal opportunities to fortify his legacy. God, thank you for Rusty Thompson. Thank you for working through him and giving him a heart that ultimately brought us all here tonight. I pray that his passing would inspire us all to live life as he did, and most importantly, to love as he did. We pray these things in your name and in the memory of your son, Rusty. We love you, Russ. Amen.
You may be seated. Thank you, Marty. Rusty and I had many things in common. We were married on the same day, at the same time, in a Catholic church, but not to each other. He would often contact me on July 18th and leave a message and say, "Happy anniversary, honey." You see, on July 18th, 1987, Rusty married the love of his life, Tina Marie Kozelski, class of 87. At this time, John McStravick, who was his best man in his wedding, will give a few remarks about Rusty.
Howdy. I want to thank the Memorial Committee and the family for allowing me the privilege of saying a few words this evening about Rusty Thompson, the person. To give you some perspective, I first met Rusty and his sweet girlfriend, Tina, in 1985 on this campus. Thank you, I needed that. I was a new RA in Hotard. Yes, at that time it was a dormitory or a residence hall. And Rusty was the new head resident. The three of us, together with my wife a year or so later, began a friendship that has spanned 30 years. I was best man at his wedding, and he was my groomsman and godfather to my oldest child, who appropriately is in the class of 2014. If you haven't already read Rusty's obituary, you need to. It gives you a wonderful overview of those things he held dear. But in my few moments up here sharing with you, I want to talk about a couple of thoughts that have been swimming around in my head the past couple of weeks. Rusty was a son, a brother, an uncle, a son-in-law, a brother-in-law, a husband to my dear friend Tina, and a father to Brenna and Blaine. To many of you in this room, he was an advisor or a mentor, a supervisor, a coworker, or a friend. But those labels we placed on these different relationships with Rusty do not fully expose the true relationship we had with him. I think anyone who knew Rusty felt a deeper bond to him than the label represents. To me, this is evident by the outpouring of prayer, the good thoughts, and the participation at the different services held in his name over the past few weeks. It's overwhelming to read all of the comments on social media, to see students and coworkers in hospital waiting rooms, to have more than 500 people attend the visitation before the rosary had to begin, to have St. Mary's packed with people for the funeral, and to have all of you here in Rudder Auditorium. We have not done this to pay our respects. We have done this because of our deep feelings for Rusty, the person. What a gift he had to be able to make each of these relationships deeper than their label. And what a gift we had to be the recipient of that deeper relationship that transcended those labels. Yes, I'm honored to be introduced as Rusty's best man or as Rusty's best friend. But for me, in my heart, Rusty was my brother. I guess you could say it a little bit more colorfully. Rusty was my brother from another mother. I will always remember Rusty's laugh, that crazy laugh, and his facial expressions. Sometimes they were serious, but usually they were extremely funny. And his hand gestures, usually emphasizing his facial expressions. His ridiculous sense of humor and willingness to be placed in humbling positions to compound the humor, to break the ice, to make a point, or to show his excitement for a situation. You know, I want to share just a little story going back to his practical jokes. And you probably heard some moans from the couple of rows in the front here because they go, oh no, John's going to tell a short story. Anyways, to go on the practical jokes, and honestly, I'll get there on the end, but you know, Rusty, I was his RA. He was my head resident. So about 12:30 one night, Saturday night, we're both on duty. He told me, he said, you know what, I'm tired of people coming in late in the evening and spilling the trash cans over on first floor. He goes, we're going to catch them. He said, here's my plan. He goes, we got a janitorial closet out there. Said, let's go out one at a time, stay in the janitorial closet, and then as people come in, we're going to see who dumps over the trash cans, and we're going to catch them. Okay, Russ, you're the boss. So he says, okay, here's what I'll do. We give our, got our Res Life issued flashlight, and we were sent. Rusty took me out to the hallway with him, and he said, okay, I'm going to get in here first. I'm going to keep the door cracked open. If somebody comes in, I'll get them when they or push over the trash can. I said, okay. He goes, now you come back in 10 minutes, or if you hear voices out here like I've caught somebody. I said, all right, we'll do. So I dutifully went back to his apartment, waited 10 minutes, came back. He said, didn't see anything. There was no activity. He goes, okay, now it's your turn. Now remember, this is before cell phones, people. You're in a closet. There's nothing to do. You're just waiting there with your Res Life issued flashlight. And so I'm in there. I got the door closed really tight, just enough so I could see. And 3 people come in. So they come walking down the hallway, and then they start looking at the closet. And I'm like backing off. And they say, hey, the closet's open. So, really? Well, let's go see. Hey, I think someone's in the closet. I'm like, oh man, I'm busted now. They come over and they open the door, and there I am, their favorite 4th floor RA. And they're making a ruckus, but Rusty comes out of his apartment. Now, I guess he was listening, but he comes out of his apartment, and he's like, hey, what's going on over here? Like he's in control. And and the guys go, hey, we found your RA in the closet, man. He's spying on us. And Rusty goes, is that right? And he said, I'll take care of it from here. He goes, y'all go on up to your rooms. So they leave, and I'm sitting there looking at Rusty like, man, you just threw me under the bus, dude. We get back into his apartment, and he starts just cracking up. Now, to this day, I do not know if that was a practical joke Rusty played on me or if that was just his way of endearing himself to the others. Whichever it is, I've never figured it out. But, it's not like Rusty, when a practical joke goes his way, it's not like him to let that go by without letting you know he did a good job. It may take a while, but in 31 years, he's never told me otherwise. I will always remember, too, Rusty's love and admiration of Tina, his love, joy, and praise of Brenna and Blaine, his childlike joy when the Aggies or any of his teams won, and his temporary but demonstrative depression when the Aggies got outscored. I will also remember him when Spirit is played, when the fight song is sung, and at the conclusion of any Aggie event, because he bled maroon, and he was the quintessential Texas Aggie. I want to leave each of the students here with one thought, best summed up by the familiar phrase, there's a spirit can never be told. Each of you is involved in one or more activity on this campus, many of which were advised by Rusty. But your bond as Texas Aggies transcends all of these groups, just as your relationship with Rusty transcends the label of the relationship with him. I was a non-reg. Rusty was the former CEO of Squadron 5. I was an engineering undergrad student. Rusty was an education graduate student. I was class 87. Rusty was class of 85. And we didn't always hold the same political view, but we were both Texas Aggies, and we shared a core set of values and principles. Just as there is a spirit can never be told in respect to the bond that we all have to this school, so too is there a spirit that can never be told in respect to the relationships we build on this campus. The deepest of these, for me, was with my wife, Jennifer, class of 87. With my dear friend, Tina, class of 87. And with my brother from another mother, Rusty Thompson, class of 85. I want to share with you a quote that was used in my father's obituary, and I think it just as it epitomized my father, I think it does with Rusty as well. My brother wrote this, but let's think of it as Rusty. The light which has guided his earthly family, which is all of us, has left us. Yet his influence, love, and care has enriched us all, and well lights the path we must take to join him in God's eternal embrace. What a gift I received from knowing Rusty. What a gift we all received from knowing Rusty. Gig 'em.
Thank you, John. Another thing Rusty and I held in common, along with Dr. Tanya Driver, the Director of Department of Multicultural Services, is we share the same boss. At times, we had great times together. We'd get in a group and talk about the good times. At other times, they weren't so great. I always like to focus on the good times, and Rusty always kept things light. Dr. C.J. Woods, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs, will say a few words about our colleague.
Man, where do I begin? On behalf of Texas A&M, the Division of Student Affairs, and the Thompson family, I want to thank you all for being here tonight as we remember our colleague, Rusty Thompson. I had the opportunity and honor of working with Rusty daily and got to know him not just as a colleague, but as a dear friend. As I reflect on Rusty's life, I'm reminded of the poem, Thousands of Reasons. And it reads, if every morning you can find a reason to say, yes, it's going to be a beautiful day. And every day you find a reason to say, yes, it is a beautiful day. And every night you find a reason to say, yes, it was a beautiful day. Then one day you'll look back and easily say, yes, it was a beautiful life. What I will remember as we celebrate Rusty's life is his enduring sense of loyalty and pride. Loyalty to his family, to his faith, to his friends, and dear old Texas A&M. With over 25 years of service at Texas A&M as a student and staff member, you can only imagine the lives he touched and the memories he's a part of, and yes, all the pictures he's in. Rusty worked in 3 different departments: residence life, the MSc, and student activities. He was the director of student activities, supervised 50 staff, and had responsibility for over 1,200 student organizations. Did I mention he knew a lot of people? What we will miss most about our friend and colleague is first, his smile. I can't remember a day, and I saw Rusty every day, that he didn't have a smile on his face. His laughter. He had this chuckle that would make you laugh, even if the joke wasn't funny. His sense of Aggie justice. When Aggies were misbehaving, he'd always say, "It just ain't right. It just ain't right." And he'd go country on me. And I was like, "Rusty, where is that?" And then his optimism. He was a Houston Astros fan. Need I say more? His presence. He was serious in times of crisis. He was genuine in times of counsel. And he was hilarious at times when we needed humor the most. And finally, what I'm going to miss most are his Friday updates. He would send the funniest pictures in his Friday updates that would pretty much sum up the week. And he was always on target. What I know is that Rusty loved his job, his staff, and his community. I also know that Rusty loved to share stories about his family. March was one of his favorite times of year, not because of just March Madness, because his family was starting a new tradition of going to the NCAA tournament. And he would always share with me the stories about he and his siblings and his father getting in the car, and they would revert back to their roles as children, even back to assigned seating. And he just loved to tell that story about what all happened that weekend. He talked to me about Thursday nights. He said, "Boss, don't call me. It's date night." So I knew he was spending his night with Tina, going to the movies or out to eat. And I accidentally called him one night, and I just heard this pause on the phone. And he said, "What did I tell you?" And I said, "It was date night." He was proud of his son and proud of his daughter's accomplishments and how bright their futures are. He knew the beauty of life, and he lived it at work and at home. We will always be grateful for the leadership and care Rusty gave to students, faculty, and staff. He was lighthearted and full of positive energy in the midst of trying situations. He embodied the Aggie spirit. As a father, husband, sibling, friend, mentor, and colleague, he will be profoundly missed, always loved, and never forgotten. And yes, he lived a beautiful life. Gig 'em.
Thanks, boss. Rusty had an incredible journey in the three departments, residence life, the Memorial Student Center, and student activities. He spent the latter years and most of his time with student activities. Former Associate Director Tim Sweeney, who retired last May after 35 years of service, who knows the historical perspectives of the department and probably where some skeletons are, will tell us a little about what it was like with Rusty at the helm.
Thank you. Howdy. Rusty liked that. It was one of his favorite terms. When we speak of the Aggie spirit, it has been said, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. And from the inside looking out, you can't explain it. But every once in a while, you find an exception to that statement, a role model that exemplifies what the Aggie spirit really means. A man like Rusty Thompson. Coming to Aggieland for the first time for new staff members and student activities is a daunting experience. With all of our traditions and jargon, it's a very mysterious place. So it's always special to watch Rusty use humor to break down any barriers with the new staff, making jokes, telling stories, or anyone else he met. He was always telling stories. And then slide right in there with his humble personality to explain the Aggie experience. He loved that. He had a warm and loving style about him. especially with new staff members who were trying to figure this whole Aggie thing out. And so it was very special to watch that and to know that there was somebody there that could actually bring them in and really teach them in a warm and genuine and supportive manner. When I retired, the Association of Former Students gave me a coin with the 6 Aggie core values on it. So I would always be reminded of what Aggies hold dear. There's only one change I would recommend. Place a rendering of Rusty Thompson on the side of the coin. George Washington, Abe Lincoln, Rusty Thompson. Rusty'd love that. Why, you ask? Because Rusty walked the walk when it came to core values. Let's take a look. Loyalty. Loyalty to his family. Of course, Rusty's mantra was, you've heard it before, faith, family, and my fighting Texas Aggies. His love of A&M was deep and wide for staff, for students, even the faculty, and it always entered the conversation. Respect. Traditions. He loved the traditions, especially for muster and silver taps, not just for what they were, but what they stood for, using them to be inclusive and to bind the Aggie family together into something larger than themselves. Selfless service. Rusty returned to A&M to serve the students. That is what Student Affairs is all about. His dream job was being director of student activities because he knew that was the way to share the Aggie experience with the broadest range of students. Integrity. Rusty followed up on what he said he would do. His word was his bond, and he usually liked to seal a deal with a handshake. Excellence. He was always pushing staff and students to bring out the best out of all of us. He inspired us to be better than we thought we could be. He supported staff and watched them blossom because he gave them room to grow. Leadership. With his leadership, we kept moving forward to find new areas of development for student groups and to broaden the experience. He gave us the space to grow and develop, and all the while keeping us in a family atmosphere that was dynamic and fun. And you've already heard about the fun, and I'm sure you're going to hear more about that. Rusty lived on this earth until March 12, 2016. However, he will live in our hearts and minds for the rest of our lives. In the future, when they speak of the Aggie spirit, they better mention their best role model, my friend, Rusty Thompson. Yes, we would all be better people with a little Rusty in us. Thanks, and gig 'em.
Thank you, Tim. If you watched last night's basketball game, it was a real nail biter. And the local paper said that there could have been some divine intervention from Rusty Thompson. To pull it off, whatever he did, all I can say is, Rusty, keep it up. Rusty at one time was the advisor to the Yale leaders. Over the years, there were several Yale leaders whose enthusiasm had no boundaries, and Rusty had to contain that Aggie spirit in them. During this time, he developed personal relationships with these young men and served as their mentor and watched them grow. He enjoyed working with them as they taught others the Aggie spirit. At this time, former head Yale leader Patrick Hebert, class of '06, will reflect what Rusty was like as an advisor and a friend.
Howdy. Big thanks to Rusty, my good friend, for the big basketball win last night. It's no coincidence Rusty passed on March 12th, as he has always been one of the most dedicated 12th men that I ever knew. I had the privilege of getting to know Rusty the 2 years that I served as Yale leader. The first day I was elected was the first day I met this fun-loving man. You could imagine the intimidation behind going to bed one night as a regular student and waking up the next day as one of the 5 faces of Texas A&M that represent this great university. That is where Rusty, the father figure, friend, and leader come into play. The first thing that he told us, I'll never forget. Have you ever been to Disney World, Patrick? Well, yes, I have, just one time. Did you ever see Mickey Mouse light up a cigarette and sit on a bench? Well, no, of course not, Rusty. What are you getting at? He responded with, guess what? What? You are now the Mickey Mouse of Texas A&M. Congratulations. In the 10 years since graduation, I've thought a lot about what Rusty told me that day, and it turned into a life lesson. Rusty has been Mickey Mouse his whole life, without wearing a uniform, asking for recognition, and never, ever having a bad day. He directly impacted all 40-plus Yale leaders he advised in his 10-plus years in that position. I think it is safe to say he has a special place in every Yale leader's heart and everyone else's heart, for that matter. Rusty and his lovely wife, Tina, served as witnesses in my wife and I's wedding 9 years ago. Their strong Catholic Christian values always reflected their love, their love and compassion to others. This is also evident in their amazing children, Blaine and Brenna, of whom I also love and adore as my own brothers and sisters. To Tina, Blaine, Brenna, and the entire Thompson family, I have not stopped thinking and praying for you since the incident. Rusty's passion on earth will continue to be carried out by each person that he touched. His heart was actually too big and beat too fast for everyone else, which has now led him to sit in heaven surrounded by the angels and saints and watching the Aggies with St. Peter win national championships in every sport, every day for eternity. Gig 'em, Rusty. I love you, buddy. Now let's go beat the hell out of OU.
Thank you, Patrick. As many of you know, Rusty was the advisor to the bonfire when it fell on November 18th, 1999, and 12 students died and 27 were injured. This was a horrific moment for Rusty and the campus community. This was a time when his faith and his family were of the utmost importance. Through his faith, humility, and humbleness, Rusty became friends with the families of the deceased and the injured. This helped lighten the burden for both Rusty and the families. At this time, the mother of Miranda Adams, class of '02, Carolyn Adams, will say a few words about Rusty.
Howdy. We are here to honor the memory of Rusty Thompson, class of '85. I am honored to share how he impacted the lives of the bonfire families when the Aggie bonfire collapsed on November 18, 1999. We met Rusty after Stack collapsed. It's hard to remember exactly or how we first met him, but he was just always there. Rusty was the advisor to Bonfire and was involved in the university's efforts to assist all of those who were affected after the Stack collapsed. He helped guide the Aggies impacted by the tragedy through a very dark and sad time. It was always apparent that Rusty had a deep connection with the students that worked on Bonfire. In the 16 years since Bonfire fell, whenever we have been on campus and saw Rusty, he always embraced us and asked us how we were doing and what was going on in our lives. He was a very special man at a very difficult time in our life and became a very dear part of our connection to the Aggie family. Rusty, we will miss seeing you when we visit Aggie land. After reading Rusty's obituary, it is evident that he was destined to be an Aggie from birth. His love for A&M and his fellow Aggies was shown by the enthusiasm he had for every organization or event he was involved with in Aggie land. His life reflected the core values held in high esteem by all Aggies: excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Rusty definitely set the bar high for us all. His character was reflective of his Aggie roots from childhood and his time spent in the Corps of Cadets. Rusty was loyal to everyone he knew, accepting of others, and a leader to many Aggies. He was proud to be a fighting Texas Aggie. He demonstrated this in everything he did, whether it was with his Aggie family, his own beloved family, or his church. After the stack fell, the Aggie family said those lost or injured would never be forgotten. The Aggie family has kept that promise. Rusty, you will always be remembered for your life and service. You made an impact on so many Aggies and their families. Rusty, we thank you for your serving spirit and celebrate a life well lived. Finally, I want to thank you, Rusty, for your heartfelt love on behalf of the families of Lucas Kimmel, Brian McLean, Christopher Breen, Jeremy Frampton, Chad Powell, Jerry Self, Michael Ebanks, Jamie Hand, Timothy Curley, Christopher Hurd, Nathan West, and Miranda Adams. May God continue to bless and care for the Thompson family and the Aggie family as we mourn the loss of Rusty. God bless the great state of Texas and the United States of America, and may God bless the men and women that serve to protect our freedom. Thank you, and Giga Mags.
Thank you, Carolyn. Rusty was not only known for his bright personality, he was also known for his bright shirts. Rusty had like bright blue shirts, he had green ones, he had yellow ones. I didn't see any orange ones though. and maroon ones. I mean, he was always wearing these bright shirts. When he wore this purple shirt, I always ribbed him about being a horned frog. He would just smile and said he was wearing it with pride because Camp Thompson was a purple camp. Enough said. Lauren Bell, class of 2016, co-chair of Camp Thompson 2015, will reflect from a fish camp perspective.
Howdy. Rusty Thompson's reputation always preceded him. The kind of impact he had on the lives of many created a ripple effect that was felt by many people before they even met him. Getting to know him and be one of the co-chairs for his second Camp Thompson was a blessing and an honor. Rusty worked with and impacted those involved in fish camp for over 20 years. He was a namesake in 1995, and then as soon as he could be nominated again, became a namesake in 2015. In the intermittent period, he continued to have an impact on our organization, going back to Lakeview in a variety of different capacities. When my chair partner Alex and I found out that he was our namesake, I had never been more humbled and terrified in my life. My nervousness didn't last long. When we met Rusty and his wife Tina, I experienced what everyone who knows him talks about and why his reputation always preceded him. Down to earth, genuine, motivating, optimistic, generous, kind, giving, devoted. He ended up having the most profound impact on our camp. His dedication to getting to interact and know our freshmen inspired me the most. He did the yells, participated in skits, and then played an enormous role in getting them excited about being a fighting Texas Aggie. He showed me that balancing so many different areas of your life, like family, faith, being an Aggie, and your work, was not only possible, but something I could strive for too. Whenever I was in Coldus, it was rare that I had to go to his office to see him. He was always out and about, working with people, checking on people, interacting with many. Rusty, it's hard to know you're gone, but this is one thing I have already gathered. With the number of lives you have touched, but you have left a lot of yourself here. If every person whose life Rusty touched were to impact one person the way that he did, I can only imagine the kind of difference we can make in the world. To the Thompsons, just a year ago, you began accepting us into your family. Remember that you will always be a part of our family as well. We love you. Thanks, and Gig'em.
Thank you. As administrators, we always try to stay grounded with working with students. Rusty didn't have a problem doing that. At one time, he advised the Aggie Wranglers. He would have to approve their stunts and then sign off on their risk management forms. Rusty also loved country music. In visiting his home several times, I noticed that his living room was 2 stories high. Legend has it that Rusty would go home after a hard day's work. He'd spin Tina and toss her in the air, and while doing a double twist, he'd catch her behind his back and spin and around and then plant her on her feet. If he could do this successfully, then he would sign off with the Aggie Wranglers. He later became the advisor to the muster committee, one of the most solemn traditions at the university. He has made a real impact on the students, and Josiah Bizet, class of 15, will reflect on Rusty and as their advisor.
Howdy. Rusty was my advisor, and he was my friend. He sat next to me 3 meetings a week, and meetings went longer than they should have because of Rusty. He would always distract me with ridiculous jokes and goofy faces, as many of you know. I told him a number of times to quit being so silly so we could focus on our work for muster committee. He never stopped, though, and I'm glad he didn't. We needed the ridiculous jokes and the goofy faces. He helped us enjoy our work. Meetings were a lot more fun because of how comical Rusty was. This behavior was indicative of one of Rusty's favorite mottos, work hard and play hard. Rusty was a light in muster committee. He always smiled, brought wisdom beyond our years, and encouraged us frequently. He was, to all of us in committee, a dear friend. Rusty, better than anyone I have known, understood the importance of every Aggie. How telling that Rusty got to advise the muster committee. Muster is so unique in that we get to celebrate the life of every Aggie at some point. In the words of Rusty from an interview we did of him earlier this summer, no matter who you are, no matter how much you participated in Texas A&M, or no matter what you did at Texas A&M, you will always be remembered on April 21st. Rusty cared about every Aggie in this family. Muster, at its core, is about celebrating the lives of our fellow Aggies, some still with us and some unable to answer the yearly roll call for themselves. This year, on April 21st, we will all proudly answer here for Rusty, and that I'm excited for. Gig 'em.
Thank you, Josiah. Josiah and his committee has had a special place with Rusty and his family. He and several members of the executive committee spent hours with the family while Rusty was in the hospital. The family greatly appreciates your holding vigil for Rusty and all the prayers. At this time, I'd like to introduce the student body president, Joseph Benigno, class of 2016. He'll give remarks from the student body.
Howdy. What more can be said? How could I express any more beautifully the legacy that Rusty leaves behind? How could I any more accurately describe the depth and significance of the relationships that Rusty had with students? Is it possible to more completely chronicle the lasting legacy Rusty will be remembered for? In many ways, I feel completely unqualified to be standing in front of you to talk about Rusty, because I really don't believe that I have the ability to properly convey how important Rusty was to me or to the university. And the fact of the matter is that however much is said tonight, infinitely more could be said about Rusty. Rusty is a man who lived his life in service. Service to God, service to his family, and service to his university. And what an extraordinarily beautiful legacy to leave. At Texas A&M, we talk so much about the greatest ideals in life, but rarely do we get to see so clear a picture of these ideals exercised in totality through the life of an individual. I believe that the essence of being an Aggie is about aspiring to complete excellence in all areas of life, to hold yourself to the highest possible standards in your vocation, faith, relationships, ethics, and more. Rusty Thompson exemplified this aspiration in every sense. A while ago, I wrote to a friend who was graduating that I believed that the quality of an Aggie could be measured in the number of people impacted by their presence on campus. And by this definition, I believe that few better Aggies have ever lived than Rusty Thompson. Thank you for letting me share tonight. God bless Rusty Thompson, the Thompson family, and God bless Texas A&M. Gig 'em.
Thank you, Joseph, for those heartfelt remarks. Students have put together a video and a slideshow to pay tribute to Rusty. Please sit back and enjoy.
I never get tired of that.
More than anyone else, Rusty taught me what it means to be an Aggie. He brought love, compassion, humility, integrity, passion, and joy to the workplace every day. He had the ability to touch the heart of everybody. Rusty will be missed so much. I love you, and thanks again.
Rusty was a mentor and friend that always made my long days in Colders feel like home. You could see God's work through Rusty's actions, and he helped me become stronger in my faith with the Lord.
Rusty was the king of the MSC. We loved him dearly.
Well, both of us did. When you think about a Texas Aggie, you think about Rusty Thompson. And I can always say, this is the best compliment I can give you from an Aggie standpoint. He is a rough, tough, real stuff. I'm Texas Aggie, Rusty Thompson.
Rusty was my husband's student at one time, and he was very influential, I think, in having John be the muster speaker in 2012. He's just been a good friend to our family.
And I've been able to call him a mentor. I've been able to call him an advisor. And a wonderful friend along the way. He's seen me through every single moment of my personal journey and I guess professional journey. And I can never thank him enough.
Rusty was a good friend, enjoyed a lot of good times and some bad times with him. Went through a lot over the years together. Definitely gonna miss you, man.
43 years ago, I met a little red-headed boy named Rusty Thompson. For 43 years, I've watched him grow from that little boy to the wonderful man that he became. I love him so much.
Aggie spirit that no matter who you are, no matter how much you participate in Texas A&M, no matter what you do at Texas A&M, you're always going to be remembered and return first.
I sat right next to Rusty for our 2-hour muster exec meetings every week, and while that seems really small, it's what I looked forward to most about every week, because no matter what kind of day I was having, that man's smile was absolutely contagious, and he just never failed to crack jokes with me the entire time.
Rusty, I'm a better man, better Christian, better father, better all-around person for having you in my life for a friendship that has spanned over 20 years. I love you, man.
Rusty was my hero. He was more like a big brother to me growing up. He taught me many things that I know about life. As a husband, as a father, Rusty gave everything that he had to everyone else, and I think that's showing the impact and the things that everybody is saying about him today. And I love him very much, and I'm going to miss him tremendously.
Rusty was my namesake, my mentor, and my friend. And I'll always remember the impact he had on my camp and on me.
Uncle Rusty always had a smile on his face and could always make you smile and make you laugh. And he had a great heart and loved his family. He definitely loved the students at Texas A&M and was in the perfect job for him. And he will be greatly missed.
Rusty, you were like a second father to me, and I'm going to miss you a lot, but I'm so grateful that I got to see the kind of life that I want to live by the way that you lived yours. And while you may not be here physically anymore, you'll always be present in our hearts.
He's someone who has pushed me to be a better person, and I think that I will continue to take that with me, and that will be my lasting memory of Rusty, is just make every day the best, make everyone smile, and be the best person that you can be.
One of Rusty's gifts was believing in people and empowering them. That's the impact he had on my life. I live more confidently and more empowered now because I knew Rusty and because he believed in me. So thanks, Rusty.
Whenever Rusty walked past my desk, he always had a smile on his face, whether things are going bad or whether things are going great. He was always optimistic, and that's something I want to take with me. Optimism is what made him have such a great life, and I'd like to lead the kind of life that Rusty lived.
I found a note from Rusty, and he signs it off by saying, always keep a special place in your heart for Texas A&M. And Rusty, I just want to thank you so much for showing me what that looked like, and because of that, you will always have a special place in my heart as well.
He always looked at every single person, and he just had a huge smile on his face, and I'm sure that he will continue making a big difference because his legacy still lives within us.
Just wanted to say that Rusty was the best little brother anybody could have. He was a man that packed more living and loving into 53 years than anybody that I can think of. A lot of stories I could tell, but I probably shouldn't. So I'll just leave it there. Love you, Rusty.
What stood out most to me about Rusty is not just that he was a fighting Texas Aggie. We all know how much he really loved our university, but Rusty, more than anything, loved his family, loved his children, and loved leading by example. And Rusty, I thank you for modeling the way for us all to follow, and not just being a Texas Aggie, but living the Aggie spirit.
Rusty had a unique ability to bring out the best in both those he worked with and those he worked for. I'm a better person because of Rusty Thompson.
It's all too short life. Rusty lived and breathed what's best for students at Texas A&M. We'll miss you, Rusty. Thank you, and give him.
Rusty had an upbeat and encouraging attitude and saw the best in others. I always respected his steadfast faith in Jesus, and am very appreciative he connected me to my job. Rusty loved his students, staff, and Texas A&M. He will be dearly missed.
Rusty had a huge impact on my life. He taught me compassion, how to show empathy, and how to lead selflessly. But more importantly, he taught me how to glorify God in everything that I do.
Rusty never ceased to remind me of my worth. He meant the world to Muster Committee and to the Aggie family. He was a good man, a good friend, and an incredible mentor here.
No matter how busy he was, Rusty was always willing to take time out of his day and chat with students. I can't tell you how much that meant to me personally. Rusty truly did change my life, and I'm just so thankful to be able to call him a friend.
Rusty taught me about authenticity, about what it means to serve authentically, to have authentic conversations, to love authentically. And I'm so thankful for his example through his leadership.
Thanks for all you've done. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks and giggles.
my heart. A spirit never be told. A little town on the Brazos, a little ring made of gold. I carry it with me wherever I go, just to remember the town. We learned some from books and a whole lot from living, and we etched our names in the wood at the chicken. I still hear the sound of spurs on the concrete, and that old train whistle blowing through the trees. So put a penny on Sully and wish me some luck, and yell for the slide when her boys are back up. Throw your arms around each other and sing hullabaloo, 'cause that's what we do when we leave Peru. Midnight at done, they still light the torches, and Reveille still barks at the cab on their horses. I've seen 80,000 to the power of 12. It doesn't matter who comes to town, we still give them hell. And I was there at the stack on November 18th. With logs on the ground, I fell down to my knees. But we would not forget the 12 that we lost, so we carved their names right there in the rock. So put a penny on Sully and wish me some luck, and yell for a spike when the boys are back. Throw your arms around each other and sing hullabaloo, 'cause that's what we do when we leave the room. There late at night, if I listen real close, the spirit still whispers through the crooked live oaks. And I hear my father and his dad before, and all those brave Aggies who never came back from war. So put a penny on Sully and wish me some luck, and yell for a spike when the boys are back. Throw your arms around each other and sing hullabaloo, 'cause that's what we do when we leave. Say it for me at my school when my time comes too, 'cause that's what we do when we bleed maroon. Yeah, that's what we do when we bleed maroon.
And if I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride on my boat. And we could all go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony on my boat. Now if I were Roy Rogers, I'd sure not be single. I couldn't bring myself to marry an old lady. It'd just be me and Trevor, we go riding through them woods, and we by a boat and on the sea. We said, and if I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride on my boat. We could all together go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony, on my boat. And now the mystery masked man was smart. He got himself a Tonto. This Tonto did the dirty work for free. Tonto, he was smart. They said, King Wasabi, kiss my ass, I bought a boat. I'm going out to sea. And if I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride on my boat. And we could all go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony, on my boat. And if I were like lightning, I wouldn't need no sneakers. Well, I'd come and go whenever I would please. And I'd scare them by the shade tree, and scare them by the light pole, but would not scare my pony on my boat out on the sea. If I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride on my boat. We could all go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony, on my boat. Set me up on my pony, on my boat.
And let's give our hand to the students. I want to thank the students that pulled that together. That was a very powerful insight to who Rusty was. I want to lighten things up just a little bit and tell you a little story, an encounter I had with Rusty and Tina recently. When Rusty was very ill in the hospital, Tina came up to me and leaned over and said, "Luke, I'm sorry, but Rusty's not going to be able to short sheet your bed." Well, you see, Rusty and I were supposed to go to a conference together, and he always played jokes on me. Now he's up there in heaven, and they're going, "Where's that new guy? Where's Rusty Thompson?" Because he's probably short-sheeting all the beds of the angels and saints up there. He's just up there right now with all the smiles that we saw on the screen, looking down on us and smiling. Also, while Rusty was in the hospital, his mother, Betty, was checking out Facebook, and a poem caught the moment that summed up how she was feeling. She wanted to share it with you all this evening. Emily Canales, class of 2016, a student worker in student activities, and also a member of the muster committee, and who's been there for several years, will recite A Fallen Limb, whose author is unknown.
A limb has fallen from the family tree. I keep hearing a voice that says, "Grieve not for me." Remember the best times, the laughter, the song, the good life I lived while I was strong. Continue my heritage, I'm counting on you. Keep smiling, and surely the sun will shine through. My mind is at ease, my soul is at rest, remembering all how I truly was blessed. Continue traditions, no matter how small. Go on with your life. Don't worry about falls. I miss you all dearly, so keep up your chin. Until the day comes, we're together again. As most of us know, Rusty was incredibly engaged in the lives of many students. He cared deeply for the well-being of his Aggie family and the traditions we celebrate together as one. As Josiah mentioned earlier, Rusty lived and breathed for Aggie Muster. His last Twitter post was a quote by T. Chet Edwards referring to the tradition itself, and it reads as follows: "Until that mustard candle is lit for us one day, as Aggies, we should give something of ourselves to make a better community, a better country." I look around today and I see a better community enriched by the life and legacy of Rusty Thompson. I look at those who have been significantly impacted by this great man and the relentless love and support he offered to each and every person he encountered. We are better for having known this man, whether it was through a simple smile, a warm embrace, or an uplifting conversation. Rusty, you lived your life the way we all should, with humility and compassion. It's a blessing that you loved us. It's a heartache that we lost you. But today, with air in our lungs, we have the ability to exemplify what it means to be like him. You lived your life for us, Rusty, and it's time we live our lives to honor yours. God bless the Thompson family. Thanks and gig 'em.
Thank you, Emily. And now for a familiar poem, Zach Lawrence, class of 2016 and head Yale leader, will recite The Last Court Trip.
It was Judgment Day in Aggieland, and tenseness filled the air. All knew there was a trip at hand, but not a soul knew where. Assembled on a drill field was the world-renowned 12th man, the entire Fightin' Aggie team, and the famous Aggie band. And out in front with royal guard, the reviewing party stood. St. Peter and his angel staff were choosing bad from good. First he surveyed the Aggie team, and in terms of an angel swore, "By Jove, I do believe I've seen this gallant group before. I've seen them play since way back when, and they've always had the grit. I've seen them lose, and I've seen them win, but I've never seen them quit. No need to tarry here in deciding upon their fates. 'Tis plain as the halo on my head that they've opened heaven's gates." And when the 12th man heard this, they let out a mighty yell. The echo cleared to heaven and shook the gates of hell. "And what group is this upon the side?" St. Peter asked his aide, that swelled as if to burst with pride when we our judgment made. "Why, sir, that's the cadet courts known both far and wide for backing up their fighting team where they won, lost, or tied." "Well then," said St. Peter, "it's very plain to me that within the realms of heaven they should spend eternity. And have the Texas Aggie band at once come into play, for their fates too we must decide upon this crucial day." And the drum major, so hearing, slowly raised his hand and said, "Boys, let's play the spirit for the last time in Aggie land." And the band poured forth the anthem in notes both bright and clear, and 10,000 Aggie voices sang that song we hold so dear. And when the band had finished, St. Peter wiped his eyes and said, "It's not so hard to see, they're meant for paradise." And the colonel of the cadet corps said as he stiffly took his stand, "It's just another court trip, boys. We'll march in behind the band." God bless you, Rusty, and God bless you, Thompson family. Thanks and gig 'em.
Thank you, Zach. There'll be a reception in the exhibit hall immediately following after the singing cadets perform. After they perform, we'd like for the students and the guests to stay seated while the family exits through the door. At that point, there'll be a screenshot, and you can use a QR code to answer that question with one word of how you would describe Rusty. If you read the battalion this morning, you would have read what Blaine said in an incredible eulogy at his father's funeral. He talked about a recurring joke that Rusty used to say. You know, when someone can't do something as well as they used to, they say, "I'm sorry, I guess I'm a little rusty." As you can guess, Rusty would go up and pat them on the back and say, "There's nothing wrong with that." Rusty loved the tradition of howdy. I challenge each of you to walk across campus with your head held a little higher and say a sincere howdy to everyone you pass and smile like Rusty Thompson would have done, because there's a little Rusty in all of us. We're a better campus community because Rusty Thompson was here. We are grateful for so many of us that we were able to encounter him. We will miss you, Rusty, and we love you. Please stand.
Some may boast of prowess bold, of the school they think so grand, but there's a spirit can ne'er be told. It's the spirit of Aggie land. We are the Aggies are we, true to each other as Aggies can be. We've got to fight, boys, we've got to fight. We've got to fight for maroon and white. After they boosted all the rest, then they will come and join the best. For we are the Aggies are we. We are from Texas A&C.
Thank you all. At this time, the screen's going to come down and we'll have the QR code and that one word that you all have been thinking of, if you can like text it. And then tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, there'll be a word cloud and we'll put it on the Rally Behind Rusty Facebook page or the Student Activities Instagram page. And at this time, the family will exit this way. At this point, you're dismissed. You're welcome to join us in a reception in the exhibit hall. Thank you.